I like treating patients, and I get a lot of satisfaction from that, but boiling it down, I'm first and foremost a scientist because I'm driven by curiosity.
Peter was born in Belfast in 1949. He went to school at Sandown Grammar on the Isle of Wight, and then to the University of Leeds, where he received his MB in 1972. He became interested in genetics and published his first paper on the relationship between immunogenetics and coronary heart disease. Then in 1977, Peter came to the Institute as a registrar and then senior registrar at the Bethlehem and Maudsley hospitals. He conducted the first linkage analyses in psychiatry, trying to find genes that contribute to the heritability of schizophrenia.
I think the whole business about basic and applied is actually probably rather a bad notion, because it may take a long time to translate through, but the sort of stuff that we grapple with in the centre about, you know, what's a disease, what's normality, is there a continuum, is really highly relevant to clinicians.
In 1987, Peter was lured to Cardiff to become professor and head of the Department of Psychological Medicine. Then 10 years later, in 1997, Stuart Checkley, who was then dean of the Institute, turned up at Peter's door in Wales, recruiting him to be director of the new MRC Social, Genetic and Developmental Psychiatry Centre, which was founded by Mike Rutter in 1994.
When Mike started out as director, it was quite a small thing. It gradually grew. It grew even further when I then came as director. And we ended up with a centre that contained, almost a couple of hundred people, but spread out over about 8 different buildings. So we were a virtual centre, and actually moving into this building made us a real centre, and it really has helped the collaborations that have gone on here. Everyone who works here is very collaborative, but being under one roof, all staff and students, it has been great.
I think I've been incredibly lucky to work with Peter McGuffin, and I knew him first for many years, of course, as the centre director, and he was very supportive in that role and extremely well liked. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say a bad thing about him. And I think his humanity as a clinician sort of shines through his research work and his leadership of the centre. And then, I suppose, taking over as director, it's been extraordinary to me how generous he's been and how supportive, and again, really just kind and decent, as well as a real intellectual figurehead.
I've had a really fortunate career. I've worked in some great places with some great colleagues, but this has been the best, this centre. I mean, I think it's probably been the best job in British psychiatry, is what one colleague remarked.
In 2007, Peter agreed to be dean for 3 years. Peter was involved in 31 grants worth more than £15 million. Moreover, he published 65 papers during these 3 years. Yes, that's almost 2 publications per month, with an amazing average citation rate for these publications of 52 citations. There was another achievement that was nearly as difficult and every bit as much appreciated to those who shivered through many cold winters in the Institute's main building. Peter was finally able, after many years, to get a new central heating boiler.
It's been terrific to have Peter reminding us too how historically the pendulum has swung to and fro on things like genetics, and whether studying the genetics of disorders is acceptable in society or not. They're real pendulum swings. And to remind us that when genetics at the Institute of Psychiatry started, it started in a hut. So I think that historical perspective, to see where we've come from in order to see where we might go next, has been amazingly useful and real insight.
What this centre does, and does almost better than anyone else, is combining genetics with the environment. But there's such a phenomenal amount of things happening in genetics at the moment. 10 years ago, the only genes that we had identified that affected mental illness were for rare single gene conditions. Now, for quite common conditions, genes are being identified. And from pioneering work in this centre, people are actually showing coactions and interactions between genes and environmental effects. So it's all really terribly exciting at the moment. I've been privileged in my career to have worked in a number of wonderful places, including Cardiff and St Louis and many others, and the Institute of Psychiatry in the first place. But this has been the best place to work. So thank you for being colleagues and friends here. That's it.